The President did assent to the UPDF amendment bill. In the beginning, in the preamble, I would say chicken is about to come home to roast. The colleagues of mine in the NRM who did not have the balls, who went like headless chicken to second the amendment. I am glad that we are still in this country. I've always told people every revolution, it's its own children. And we have seen it when the Right Honorable Mama Mbabazi enacted the POMA. We have seen it before when all these former members of the famous NRM, when it was still in the bush, when they introduced intentions of running against the system, all kinds of fake laws, draconian laws were made to contain them. This law, when we rejected it, there was a lot of rationale, there was a lot of logic, science, and research that qualified our opposition minority report. My colleagues did not hear the persuasion. I do not know what persuaded them better than what we gave them. We argued position of law. We had all the best legal brains that sat in that house. I had myself, I had the Honorable Segona, I had Honorable Lumu, we had Honorable Basalirwa. We came up with a very concrete position on what the law should be. We, in fact, we borrowed a very punitive law, a very bad law for this modern contemporary democracy that we do have. But I am sure one day the people who have laid their bed are going to sleep in it. And I am sure it may not be me. It may be those who seconded. I would have done my part and told the nation what is best for them. All right.
Should the public lose sleep? And what should they fear now that the law has been signed?
We have always seen a situation where if you show interest that you intend to contest or run against the NRM or against the government in power, there are always concoct evidences. We've seen how the Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court held the court-martial to be unconstitutional. Ugandans are going to be tried in kangaroo courts. No justice is going to be. All political opponents of the NRM are going to be arrested and bundled and tried before cadre, military, or militants. That is one. Two, if in any case there is any personal vendetta against you, because such courts do not even have a start date and end dates of trial. We're going to see the likes of opposition figure notes, like the likes of Kizza Besigye's being taken back to the court-martial and trial dates being held in communicado until electioneering period is done. And the UPDF Act, Amendment Act that was passed was intended to deal with political opponents of the NRM. And Ugandans who are not in active politics may not face the wrath. All Ugandans who are in leadership or intend to get into any leadership position are going to face a wrath. But at the end of the day, this goes back to the level of democracy, good governance, and constitutionalism that we do have in this country, that we fought for. We've completely overrun our constitution that our forefathers in the Constituency Assembly did make a very good document for us, and we have washed it away with influence of things. We've sold the tenets of our democracy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, one thing I can assure you is that it is going to be challenged, because majority of us, especially who went to the law school, know that this bill offends the Constitution, especially in three major aspects. The first aspect, the article that in the Constitution that establishes the UPDF does not give Parliament power to create a court other than for discipline of military officers. So by Parliament creating a court that would try non-military officers, that would try civilians, is unconstitutional, as it goes beyond the powers of Parliament. Two, the particular provision on trial of civilians in the military court was ruled upon as unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. And under Article 97 of the Constitution, Parliament is barred from enacting a law to overturn a decision of court. Thirdly, and most importantly, the Act has created a court that is superior, or at worst at the same level with the High Court, which is contrary to Article 126 up to Article 130 of the Constitution, because the High Court is supreme over all courts, except the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. But the court martial established under the Act gives it power that is either at the same level or superior to the High Court, which is unconstitutional. So it will definitely be challenged, and I believe tomorrow petitions will be filed.
I think what that simply means is that now the bill is law. The provisions in the bill that create offenses are now operational, they are now functional, and that somebody can now be arrested and prosecuted under that piece of legislation. So all the issues that were created as offenses are now operational. People must now become careful on how they conduct themselves, especially the civilians, on how you dress, the dress code, on how you relate with the members of the military, because according to that piece of legislation, you can be charged in the court martial as an accomplice to offenses that have been committed by members of the armed forces. So, in other words, civilians can now be taken back to the court martial. They can now be tried and charged under the court martial. That is what it means now that the bill has been assented to by the president.
What has improved in the bill compared to the previous year?
Well, there were some improvements which, as far as we are concerned, still did not meet the constitutional test. Number one, there is now the element of appointment of the court members with the consultation with the Judicial Service Commission. And that also extends to the prosecution. Number two, now, there is a modification in the kind of, in what constitutes military stores. That now there will be some distinguishing features on what constitutes or what is really military stores. Number three, there's also now the element of appeal to the courts from the court martial. So there have been some slight improvements that were introduced and that were intended to ostensibly satisfy the requirements of the court, which some of us obviously still disagree with. So we wait to see. And as you are aware, some of us have been waiting for the law to be assented to, then we proceed to the Constitutional Court to challenge its constitutionality.
As if there was a clause which provides that before the court is taken down.
No, there is no requirement. You know, one of the issues that was of contention was on the duality of jurisdiction. Where do offenses go? To the civilian courts or to the high courts? I mean the court martial. In offenses that are triable by the high court, the Supreme Court had said those offenses are an exclusive preserve of the civilian courts. Now the court martial, I mean the UPDF amendment bill, has taken away that mandate, that you can now be taken to the court martial straight away, even for offenses that can be tried by the civilian courts, and that in itself is very problematic.
So as expected, the speed we used, the speed Parliament used when they were passing that law, it's the same speed as used when assenting to it. That shows that Museveni and his government has no hope, has no love for Ugandans. What he is, only his target is to see that he remains in power with his people. It's so sad to see that all this is happening. All of us, we are potential victims of this thing. Everyone, especially we the politicians on the other side, in case of anything, will be taking us to prison, to the army, court martial, everything will happen. But the only hope we have is in the people. He can't win the people's will. He will do everything, but the people, power will win at the end of the day.
Thank you for asking me that question. We had written a minority report which was read by the MP for Choga, commonly known as the Vox Populi, Vox Day. He isn't commonly known like that. But I think the legislators who were in there did not take keen interest in the minority report. But now if the president has assented to that law, now it has, I mean to that bill, it has now become an act and it is law. What I can tell people, especially those going to campaigns in about 3-4 months, that bill is problematic. And that bill will see to it that so many people will be behind the bars. And if so many people are behind the bars, that means, especially in the court martial, the way it handles its affairs is not as clear and keen as the civil courts. So for those who are going to campaigns, they should campaign consciously. They should be actually serious when they are campaigning so that they can avoid being prosecuted in the court martial. I really resisted that bill to be passed the way it was, but due to some reasons here and there, we could not all be in Parliament to talk about it. So the law was passed. The law has so many bad things. Actually, that law is one of the worst laws we have passed here as a Parliament, because it touches the civilian being tried in a court martial, in a military court, which we thought was unfair and uncalled for, but it was passed. So since it was passed, even if we resisted it, it is now law. So people should move cautiously. There is now a very boggy water and very soft ground. You can step on it and you drown in it. And the people to help you might not even have the chance to help you out, because as they are stepping on that soft soil, they can as well drown. So please go in there, but handle cautiously. Yeah.
Dala President ameze n'ateeka ko omukono kweri lyoteeka li Parliament gye twayisamu gye tuyita UPDF Amendment Bill 2025. Kati President bw'ateekako omukono awuleberera ddala etteeka eyo tekyabeera bill. No, it has now become a what? A law. So ekitegeeza nti kati likola ne bw'oba kusiima mu mbuga z'amateeka kiba kikola. Kati ffe ng'abantu ebyamagye tubireke, ebyabapoliisi tubireke, ffe katusigale nga tuli abantu aba bulijjo nga tukola emirimu gyaffe, kubanga bwe banaakusanga n'ekyo ekintu nga si kikyo sikulimba amagye ge gagenda okubuuza, be bagenda okubuuza kino wakijjawa ku lwaki, ate bw'otabeera ne clear answers kijja kubeera kizibu. Naffe ebyo ebintu kati byewale tubireke, amagye gasigale nga gali magye, naffe nga Bannayuganda aba bulijjo be tuyita civilians tusigale mu mirimu gyaffe, tukole emirimu gya offices, tukole zi bizinesi, tugende tulime, tugende tulunde, tusigale nga tuli Bannayuganda abayina empisa ate nga baagala eggwanga lyabwe. Nothing else.
The bill generally is a good one, simply because, you know, the possession of these guns in the hands of the untrained on the civilians is so dangerous to the peace and security and the development of the place, because much of the guns or many of the guns has been handled as a source of income for many youth. So it is a scaring tool. And now when they have seen that the gun is not for such a purpose, then they will revert back to agriculture, and therefore we shall develop. Otherwise, the gun should be able to stay in the hands of those ones who are trained, for example, or who are lancers to handle and who know who tame the gun. Because the gun in Karamoja, for example, has not only destabilized themselves, but has also maimed many and robbed many with their property, and also scared the production, because people could not go far to produce because of fear of this cattle rustlers, or people who have the guns in their own hands, who think the gun can shout more than what they could do in order to attain those things for their own development. So to me, the bill, the consent of the bill is very good. And I grew up, as my father said, there was what they call Karamoja Act. In the Karamoja Act, according to the colonial saying, is that people understand from the buttocks. You need to cane them. So by taking the gun, it is bringing people to understand that when you go wrong, you can easily be what? Disciplined. So basically the gun does not do anything good for it. There's no cause of having a gun. It doesn't develop anybody, though it is perpetuated by those ones who handle that the gun is a source of income, which income is a robbed income and a scaring income. So the bill in its sense is very, very good. To me, I support it, and with the time, we shall see Karamoja coming up to compete with the rest of Uganda.
But there is one thing I wanted to understand. Is it